Hi, I'm Walter Salles, and I'm very honored to be at the Indiana University Cinema. Cinema for me has always been an instrument to understand that the world was much larger and much more polyphonic than I thought it would be at first. Borges, the extraordinary Argentinian writer, used to say that what interested him in literature was to name what hadn't been named before. And cinema did that for me. It named what I didn't know. And therefore, it has always been the place where I went to understand things that I didn't have a grip of to start with. Rare are the films that did not alter the perception of reality that you have. It's such an enriching experience to start with, but also one that is extremely challenging. So as you venture into a new filmic adventure, you are bound to discover things that you had never unveiled before. If I was to pick one, it would be the Motorcycle Diaries' experience, because we did manage to follow the exact same steps that the young Guevara and the young Granado followed. And that for me came as, the result of that journey was truly a revelation. In which I understood that, yes, I was a Brazilian filmmaker to start with, but I also understood that I was part of a larger cultural territory, which was Latin America, and it's as if my house had become a little bit larger than it was until that day. And that is truly a gift that cinema has given me. In film, I think that Antonioni allowed me to understand what space was, Bresson what time was, and then Wim Wenders and Brazilian filmmakers from the Cinema Novo allowed me to understand the complexity of the human soul, really. And these are the filmmakers that were the most influential ones for me. If I go to painting, then I would have to pick Giotto, and more specifically his work at the Scrovegni Chapel, because that was the first time where the human figure wasn't idealized in painting. Well, I think that you make the films you can't refrain from making, the ones that do not abandon you. And therefore you are faced with the urgency, the urgent necessity to confront that urge and somehow translate it in a cinematic film form. I drifted to it first due to my interest in photography, especially the humanist photographers, Cartier-Bresson, Cortés, Robert Doisneau, and more recently Salgado in Brazil. And little by little, I was attracted by documentaries, by Robert Flaherty, by the first travelers that framed realities that had never been on camera before. Then one day I saw a film that was The Passenger by Antonioni, and it was in a cinema like this, and I couldn't leave the cinema. It was the last session. The usher came and took me out, and I had felt an intensity of emotion that I had not known up to that point, and it became clear that would be something I would love to do, but I was way too shy about it to move in that direction to start with. So photography and then documentaries came before the possibility of doing fiction films. There are too many films that would deserve to be saved, and I would need to, I think, dwell on the history of Brazilian cinema, and if I am to pick one of those films, it would be Barren Lives by Nelson Pereira dos Santos. For one reason is that that film is an X-ray of the Brazilian society at a specific moment in time, and somehow the characters that are described in that film reflect the culture as a whole. And we could save that film and say this is how we lived at that specific moment in time. This actually is one of the unique prerogatives of film. It allows you to understand, to freeze time in specific decades, and in this lies its strength as well. Jean-Pierre Melville, who was an instigator and a great influence on Godard and the Nouvelle Vague as a whole, was asked once, by a student, what would make a film worthwhile, and especially what would make a film be a good film. And he said, well, in percentiles, I think that 50% is the choice of a good story. 50% is how you translate that story into a screenplay. 50% how you find the actors that will give birth to those characters in a very organic manner. 50% the choice of light, 50% how you're going to cut the film, 50% the music that you would pick. And if one of those elements goes in the wrong direction, 50% of your film will be destroyed. And in this, you understand that cinema is above all a collective endeavor. Yes, you have a director's vision, but you have to incorporate every single bit of information that comes from the other artists involved in this, so that you can actually trace a vector of development in which that will allow every single person in that group to look in the same direction, so that you'll be doing the same film. It's very easy to divert from it and see that different people are doing different films while they're working together. And that, I think, in this lies the danger of cinema. To have a good cinema in a campus is absolutely fundamental. I wish we had that where I went to university to start with, because it would have nurtured an array of possibilities I didn't have, and many students don't have. Cinema is a direct representation of the different cultures that exist in the world. It's a very polyphonic medium, and a cinema that is porous to different national cinemas will end up allowing you to understand, that cultures are different, and yet people cry or people smile for very similar reasons, independent of the latitude they come from. So at the end of the day, film is what teaches you about tolerance, about understanding that matters are way more complex than you thought that they could be. To have a cinema on campus is, brings the possibility to be faced with a myriad of possibilities that you can later decant. And cinema is a wonderful matter for discussion, and anything better than being impacted by a film and 3 days later be still, digesting it and actually talking about it with your friends or teachers. So it's an extraordinary instrument. Well, I had heard of the Indiana campus and Indiana University, and more specifically about the Lilly Library, due to the fact that, on the roads scroll found a home here, and therefore I knew that this was a very special campus, but I had no idea that first that the library was as rich and offered as many possibilities as it does, including in cinema, due to the wells and the John Ford manuscripts and instruments that you have there. But I also was frankly in awe to see that one of the best cinemas I've been to can coexist in a university campus. I had never actually felt that possibility before, and the programming really rivals those of the best cinematheques in the world. I'm very actually very impacted, and at the same time very proud to be here.